Hey, everybody. My name is Brooke Ennius, and I am the CEO of Rock the Stage Fitness. And I am so excited to be able to launch this new podcast, which is really catered to girls who are competing in pageantry and wanting to get into the absolute best shape of their lives. And quite frankly, I've been in the industry for a very long time, and I've helped thousands of girls level up. And I'm able to, at this time, launch this podcast, but I'm doing it featuring a lot of my former clients, including the really beautiful Allyshia Gupta. And I'm telling you that she is not just beautiful on the outside, which we all can see. Like her heart space is incredible. So I just want to welcome you to the podcast, Allyshia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice seeing your face again because it's been a while since Miss California days, but somehow
Yeah.
you're Benjamin Buttoning, and I think you can do like a six-part series, please, next podcast on anti-aging secrets because whatever you're selling, I'm buying.
I love it. Oh my gosh, so funny. It has been a while, but you know what? I'm so grateful that when I reached out, not only you, but like all the former clients from years ago were just like, absolutely yes. So thank you for your yes. I want for the audience to know a little bit more about who you are. So let me just read your bio really quickly because it's not just pageantry. Like you have been around in other circles too. So let's take a peek at your bio. Today's guest is a definition of beauty with depth, resilience, and heart. Allyshia captured national attention on The Bachelor, where her warmth, kindness, and magnetic personality made her an instant fan favorite. But long before Bachelor Nation fell in love with her, she was already blazing her own trail. A former Miss California USA, a mental health advocate, and a strong, articulate voice for women pursuing their purpose with authenticity and courage. Her story took an unexpected turn when she was diagnosed with Lyme disease, a journey she openly shares to help others feel less alone. She's smart, radiant, unshakably resilient, and I've had the privilege of coaching her through fitness prep with Rock the Stage Fitness and PR pageant coaches during some of the most competitive and transformative seasons of her life. I am thrilled to welcome the incredible Allyshia to the show today. Welcome, girl.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for those kind words. I feel like I need to copy and paste that onto my dating apps because that sounded great.
I so love you. And I love that you have not changed. Oh my gosh. So
Dude, it's been
funny.
too long. It's been too long. But I'm glad
It's
that,
been a long time.
the whole community of your pageant girls are so here for, this next chapter and your
Yeah.
podcast because you stuck with us during the hardest times and got us to places that we couldn't have gone to alone. So for that, I feel forever indebted to you and I will always have time for you. So anything you
Oh,
need, you got me.
oh, thank you. You know what? One of the first questions that girls asked as I posed online, what questions would you ask Allyshia? And one of the questions was, how is her body so tea?
I love that. I love that question. That was me who asked it, actually. I submit that. That's so funny. Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I think I'm very blessed to have good genes,
The
and
truth.
that is definitely part of it. And I think it's crazy to pretend like um you're working super hard for something that does come naturally. So a little bit of both. Don't get me wrong. I've
Yeah.
shifted my health and lifestyle since working with you, and I have continued that and taken that
Oh,
with me into my adult life just to maintain my health and my chronic Lyme disease, especially, and to feel
yeah.
good about myself. But I think
Mhm.
it's a combination of genes, knowledge from working with Brooke, and being happy from the inside out.
Oh, so special because when you see Allyshia in person, it's just radiance, right?
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, but what I love though is that there is a warmth there. Like there's no arrogance or is exactly how we see and hear you on this podcast in person. And so thank you for being so honest. Genetics play a huge
Oh,
role.
good. I'm
Um,
glad to hear that because I do try to
yeah,
be transparent in a world that can be so make believe, with things being
sure.
online and we all have an
Yeah.
online personality and we want our lives to look great, but yeah, there's definitely days for, and especially for women, that you don't feel good, whether you're bloated, you might be going through a luteal phase. You know, we carry children, our bodies do incredible things. So also remember
Absolutely.
that not every day your body's going to feel like tea. That's okay too.
Yes, it changes, but knowing what is happening with your body, right? Being so in tune with it, I think makes all the difference in the world so that you're not just ignoring it or pressing through and grinding in seasons in which you actually need to be a little bit more nurturing. Um, and so I want to back
Yes.
up.
And that's
Yeah.
something I took away from working with you, especially
Yeah.
learning to listen to my body and move with my body for my body rather than fighting against it and working out, leaving you in tons of pain or if something
Yeah.
doesn't feel good, powering through it and struggling through it. I feel like
Yeah.
working with you was the first time where I approached my physical health in a way that was paying ode to my body and working with it,
Yeah.
and that makes such a big difference because it makes working out, which previously I really hated doing, a lot more endurable.
Yeah, yeah. And the results that you got, even though again, genetically you're super blessed. But we do know that California is a very competitive state. And so I love that I was able to experience that win with you, just seeing the progress. And I'll be honest, I've posted reels after reel after reel, but Allyshia, like yours, I think it's almost at half a
That's so
million views. Yeah. And I'm
That's
like, this girl,
crazy. That's
isn't that
crazy.
crazy?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's a
Yeah.
good reel.
So,
I love that one that you're talking about. I mean, it
yeah.
definitely helped that the swimsuits for that year also were really high-waisted. So I think one of my best assets were my legs, and we tailored
For
obviously
sure.
a plan for my whole body, but a lot of it was focused on leaning and my long legs and making them like strong. Because
Hmm.
before I did have, the I would say like genetics for a thinner, petite build,
Yeah.
but I didn't have any
Yeah.
muscle and that didn't look that great. So
Hmm.
we took a lot of time kind of focusing on that area and I think it paid off.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it did because a lot of girls are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Whereas you came in petite and you're just like, how can I build? And I love this conversation because you're my first to have this conversation on the episode. Excuse me, on the podcast. This is
Oh,
the first
good.
episode. Yeah, kind of focusing on that for girls who are naturally more lean, naturally more thin, and then trying to figure out how do I build this muscle so that I actually look strong and more of a um, womanhood, feminine, so that it comes
Exactly.
across. Yeah, and it worked. It worked. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I felt great and I felt like the best shape I was ever in my entire life, probably for that Miss USA specifically, and
yeah,
Miss California, but it does take a lot of work and it's not just movement. Part of your plan is diet and what you do outside of the gym. And I can't emphasize enough, that's 90% of it, especially as somebody who needs to build muscle. For me, it is frustrating because I hear so many times, especially the online noise of people saying she looks too skinny, she looks too this. It's not a choice and not something I want, and definitely not something that the Lyme's disease helps with. So I do have to be really mindful of.
mhm,
So prioritizing protein and knowing what to feed my body and my muscles for being able to build strong lean muscles and also for recovery and for my overall health and how good you feel so that I can get to the gym the next day and I don't feel like down and out from an intense workout. So it's
yeah,
certainly a combination of a lot of different things, but
mhm.
you had me covered on all of that, so I was good.
Yes, I love that. And for girls who are just like wondering, does it mean that I have to eat tons and tons and tons of like protein in order to get results? Well, the truth is, we supplement with really clean, lean proteins. And we want to make sure that the body is responding. And if you give it what it needs, it'll give you what you want. So with Allyshia, we were very intentional about making sure that she was not losing any more weight because, again, she was already lean. And the idea here was to make sure that she could handle a really good, intense workout to get muscle definition, but you can't get muscle definition without having the right foods in the body. So most people downplay
Mhm.
nutrition, and you're right. It's about literally 80-90% of the result you're going to see is based on what you're consuming. So it's not that you have to be eating continuously all day, but the food choices that you make need to be super clean. I we took definitely a vegan type approach, because there's so much trash, y'all, on the market, just being honest. And because we knew that she was already sensitive in terms of gut health and just overall, um, just in terms of her conditions, I didn't want to take a chance on anything extra. So let's just talk about your Lyme's disease, just navigating through that. For others who might be struggling with other conditions, just on the nutrition side, how did that help play a role in helping you just feel better overall?
I mean, to say it played a role doesn't come close to describing how life-changing nutrition and
Yeah,
diet has been for me, specifically with a chronic illness. With Lyme's disease, something that really triggers it is inflammation, and everybody knows sugar causes inflammation. Unfortunately for me, growing up, I had a really poor education of diet, and because I did come from a genetics that are thinner, I never really worried about eating junk. And I was eating all of that crap and I had no idea. And I remember vividly even thinking I did a healthy grocery shop and I, ran it past you and you told me to read the peanut butter and it was garbage. So,
yeah,
the lack of education I think I had towards, and probably the majority of the population, even if you think you know and you think
yeah.
you're doing the right things, you can be wrong because there's too much saturation of garbage on the market. So, having a better understanding of what works for you and what you're putting in your body, yeah, for me, it's been the difference of being able to wake up and feel good and continue my day and get things done versus being bedridden. So it's
Wow.
paramount.
It is paramount. And if you're struggling again with conditions, whatever it might be, I, it may not be the end all, but I'm telling you, nutrition makes a huge difference. And if your practitioners are not talking to you about making better decisions and really walking you through that process, I would just encourage you to really explore the holistic route. Because I've seen
Yes.
not only with Allyshia, but just tons of clients who come in, girls, beautiful, but just really struggling, right, with certain conditions. And I've seen the turnaround. And it's just a matter of consistency, a matter of planning, and a matter of knowing what is this food really doing to my body? Is it really nourishing me at the cellular level? And I focus a lot on micronutrients. I'm happy, right, that you were not bedridden on the day that you were, it was time to compete.
Yeah.
And so there's so
But
much
that
life
was
to
a
be lived.
real reality for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And people also um, forget how important diet is to mental health. And that's something else that I think hugely paid off for me was I think anyone who's going to hold a title and be successful in pageantry, you do have to be really happy and good on the inside out. It does show. So on top of taking care of your physical, and preparation for the pageants, that to me is part of the preparation. And diet even helps that. Feeling good about yourself, not just because of how you look, but because you feel good on the inside. I mean, it's if you have a high sugar diet like I did,
hmm
I can't advise you enough to just do your research, try to learn information, and seek out professionals like Brooke who can really inform you on what you're putting in your body because your life starts after you can get your diet and nutrition on track.
Oh, that's such good advice. Yeah, it will make all the difference, girls. So there's
Mhm.
so much life to be lived, as I mentioned before. I love seeing you live life even post pageantry, and just kind of watching just everything unfold for you. All the
Been a
dramas,
crazy
all the
journey.
fun. Yeah. But it's so great again that people get a chance to experience more of Alicia, and that again you're not just lying in a bed, taking these precious years of just young adulthood um, for granted that you have literally kind of plugged in and are able to live your best life. So I want to know what actually caused you to compete in pageantry in the first place. What was kind of that inspiration for you?
The very first inspiration to compete in pageants, I just remember growing up in America. We immigrated from the UK when I was younger. So I didn't really know anything about pageantry. My family are very British. They don't know a lot about American culture in general. And I would say, pageantry is predominantly perhaps birthed in America. So really had no idea what a pageant was. But we grew up in a really small town and we would go to the Christmas parade every year. And it was like the biggest thing in our small town. And they had a float that went by with these beautiful queens on it, and they had these gorgeous dresses and tiaras, and went by waving, and then we met them after, and they were so eloquent and poised. And I had always been a really girly girl, and I come from a single mom who's very much a tomboy, so she didn't really encourage those types of things together. And it was just something that I always asked her. I kind of nagged, hey, how do I get that crown? I want to be on that float next year. How do I become a real life princess? Before I even knew what pageantry was about. And of
Sure.
course, my mom being British and tomboyish, we never really explored that until I became a little bit older, and I realized that, Miss USA, what I watch on TV every single day, there's a pathway to that. And I started to do some research and prep, and I was really planning on going for Miss Florida at the time because I lived in Florida.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you and Jules for the very first time back. This was, I must have been 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I wasn't a US citizen, so I couldn't compete for Miss USA. And I had to put it
Mhm.
on the back burner. And I did for several years. I went to university and moved out to California, got my first job out here, and then I naturalized to become a citizen at the same time. And that's when Jules reached back out to me and she's like, listen, I know you wanted to do this way back when. Why don't you give it a go now? And I was like, you're right, life's too short. It's on my bucket list, and why not? I had no idea California was like super competitive or anything
Yeah.
to do with that.
Uh-huh.
Didn't really know what I was getting myself out for, but I wanted to do, like, I'd always loved it since I was a little girl, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. Um, and did not obviously expect the outcome that happened, but absolute dream come true. And I got to go to Miss USA, and live out the craziest dream ever.
What a dream story. Like
Yeah.
seriously. Just listening to it all unfold, but it makes sense when again, when you know who you meeting you in person, it just makes sense that people fall in love with you because it's just so easy
Oh,
to
thank
do.
you.
Yeah. You just have the look. And I appreciate too you being steadfast and you pointing out like along the way there was someone who said, hey, I think you should. And there's several girls who have that same story. There were others who
Mhm.
saw greatness in them that maybe kind of left on the wayside and then all of a sudden it just sparked something in them and it worked out, which is so cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it takes a village to get
Yeah.
to that point. And I think also just to have the confidence and gumption to put yourself out there as a
Sure.
young adult, it's scary and it can be a little bit, you can be apprehensive at times about like knowing
Mhm.
if you want to do it. So having a good support community behind you, encouraging you
Yeah.
certainly helps.
Yeah. So, what do you feel like built your confidence the most to be able to just really present yourself the way that you did?
My mom, which probably is a pretty stereotypical answer, but being
Uh-huh.
raised with a single, strong, independent mother who we didn't have a father figure per se or male role model in our life growing up. So when a tire would go flat, excuse me, she always made it a point to pull me and my sister to the side and say, hey, girls, like, watch me change this tire, know how to do this.
Wow.
And so I always felt growing up that she prepared me with the sense of ability, like you can do anything you want. And she led by example in that way as well, which was an important demonstration that I am also aware not every young woman gets. So I think by the time, also being a big sister, it was something that I'd always um, encouraged, I would say, like the female womanhood. And so by the time I got to college, I started doing some philanthropic involvements with um, female groups and local shelters for kids who don't have that kind of presence in their life. And that's when
Sure.
I would say it really hit me how important it is to have that figure growing up.
Mm, yeah. It's so neat. I just hearing everybody's stories on the podcast who have shared and just how they got where they were or are is just inspiring to me. And if you're listening, I'm hopeful that it's also inspiring you. There's steps, honestly, and people around you that kind of help again to lead and guide that process. But then there's also a decision that you have to make. And I love, Allyshia, that you made the decision to say, I'm going to do it. This is what I desire. This is what I see, and then you put the work behind it. So let's just talk about in our final few moments together, just hard work and discipline. how do you feel like that plays in just lifestyle in general for you, and the things that you've been able to achieve so far?
Oh gosh, that well, I would say those are my downside is having like the follow through on a lot of things.
Hmm.
When you start a new diet or when you start a new adventure, like I'm very quick to want to start things and it's hard to follow through. So I would say, learning to have the regimen and discipline to see things through and just know that you're doing it for yourself. Whether or not I won Miss California was irrelevant. It was a baby step towards doing something that made me feel good about myself, that I could go to sleep at night knowing I was proud of what I've done and I'm proud of who I am. So why not show that off? So I think just tiny little baby steps until you get there because
Yes.
it's a challenge for me, and there's days where I wake up and I don't feel great. Not every
Sure.
day's your 100% every day looks very different, so just
Hmm.
trying to give it your 100% even on the days that you might feel like you only got 20 in the tank.
Yeah.
And taking those baby steps and being consistent with that is what really creates patterns, and just like a muscle,
Yeah.
exercising it frequently makes it stronger and it just gets easier to do.
Yeah, I love that you said that because it's true. Um, I don't know who feels like doing everything 100% every single day. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not
but
reality.
it's really not. And so, but it's a decision. And that's why I pointed out for me in regards to your story, that's what I keep hearing is just made a decision. And sometimes
Hmm.
if you just start with a decision until that, every day you may not feel motivated, every day you may not feel inspired, every day, but just making it that decision, small steps in the right direction make a huge difference.
Yeah.
I tell girls all the time, like you win the pageant before you step on that stage because you win in the micro movements, you win in the micro moments. And that's exactly what you just expressed. So, um,
I did feel like that walking into the
yeah.
finals. I remember thinking, wow, I was so happy. I couldn't stop smiling. And I wasn't even expecting to get top 15. I really wasn't, because I'd messed up a couple
Wow.
times in my interview and done things that I'm like, oh gosh, like I look so novice. Like, what am I doing here? But I laughed along the way and learned and kind of just took it in stride. And so the finals night going into it, I was just so happy knowing that my mom was there in the audience, my sister was there. I've done this big thing that I said I was going to do however many years ago, and I got to do it on such a grand stage and meet so many
Yeah.
incredible people that regardless of how that night ended, the baby step forward was the fact that I did it. And so for me, that was the biggest win. And anything that came after that, crown, title, platform, was an added bonus. But you do have to feel like you've won before you go, because it's so much more than just walking away with a shiny tiara on your head.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So if you, that's honestly a huge bit of advice, I think, for our listening audience. But if you could tell girls and young ladies, I guess one bit of advice, if they are seriously, considering competing, especially in a state like California, which is highly competitive, what would that piece of advice be?
To be yourself, and I think in order to be yourself, you have to really know yourself. I thought I knew who I was when I was early 20s and wanted to first compete for Miss Florida, and I wasn't able to. And now we've come full circle. I think everything happens at the right time and just trust the process. Life works out in funny ways, but I didn't know who I was to the extent that I know who I am as a woman today, or when I competed for Miss California. So I think the timing of that was very serendipitous in the sense that it helps how you compete when you know who you are. And showing up is, it's just the easiest thing in the world, because you're showing up as somebody who I've had 30 years of practice being.
Yeah.
So I think when you go into like that, it takes the pressure off, it takes the stress off. And there's not really a strategy, in my opinion, to win a pageant, whether it's California, Florida, Antarctica, I don't care. The point is you're competing against so many diverse, beautiful, talented women, and you don't know who the judges are. And a different day, different judges, different outcome. So just keep that
Mhm.
in mind and know that you can only show up as your best self and like who that girl is.
Oh, so, so, so good. Oh my. I honestly am super again hopeful that if this inspired you, that you will do us a favor and share it. Because I'm telling you, other
Absolutely.
women need to hear, yes, what
Please
Allyshia
do.
just mentioned. Yeah, from inside out, like her struggles to how she overcame and is still overcoming, and just the vulnerability I so appreciate, because I just want you guys to know you're not alone, but there is a method to the madness. And again, if you are ready to level up and you're saying, I'm ready to win in this, let's just have a conversation. I would love to talk with you. My information will be posted below in the show notes. But also, I invite you to follow Allyshia. She is, again, very genuine, very warm. And I think that if you watch her journey, just as you showed up on that stage, Allyshia, you could tell that you truly enjoyed just every moment there. And that's how you present yourself on social media. So, just I think having people around you that are living life as Allyshia does is inspiring. And so I encourage you to follow her, and her handles also will be
Thank you so
posted in our
much.
show notes. Yeah. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence
Of
always.
course. Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Like I said, anytime for you, girl. I'm right here.
Oh,
I love you. I miss you. And
yeah.
I'm still doing your workouts, truly. So
Oh, that is incredible to hear. Yay. Awesome. Well, y'all, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right. Bye.
bye guys.